Hey everyone, this is a story called Jubilation from my new book called The Invisible Hand, and it's the very last story that appears in the book, and it's based on a Simon and Garfunkel song called Cecilia from the late 60s. Jubilation. I washed my face and someone took my spot. Someone was pleading with me to come back. Yeah, I gave in and told my father all about it. The chanted singing in the courts, the constant humming and whistling, the na-na-na intonations. Let's put it this way, he was not amused, not a whit. I still have no idea what tipped me over the precipice, what compelled me to spill the beans. Cecilia popped up one too many times on Pandora, maybe that's it, that infuriating song. He thrummed his thumb on his knee, his class ring lent extra weight. It was not a musical sound, it was the sound of rectifying wrongs, the pensive drumming of plans. As paterfamilias, he had duties far beyond the purchasing of bacon. Protection and retribution, those were within his purview also, as I saw it. The rumpus room in the basement filled with shiny, dangerous things, kept under lock and key. Maybe I knew that by telling him something would happen. I could fantasize, but by telling him, they transmorphed into reality. As a little girl, I had no idea what jubilation meant. And why was I crushing his heart? No clue. I was 8. I thought they were napping on the mattress in the afternoon. What else could they be doing? I detailed my aggravation and innocence and frank confusion as he listened, all these years later. Cecilia, I know what I would do, he said. I glanced at his fingernails. It appeared they had not been cleaned in a year and ragged edged at that. His ovoid belt buckle caught the firelight. It looked like a bullet, a squashed animal. The cherry hissed and the hickory popped. I know what to do, he almost rumbled. It was an era of kickball and tetherball and racquetball and volleyball and foursquare, red dimpled balls that required blowing up, squeezing to see if they contain enough air. Me, a little pipsqueak roustabout with pigtails and crooked teeth in the court complex. Squash courts, racquetball courts. Each court was its own room, with its streaked walls and blue and red lines and polished wood slats. This was long before the car accident, a mother slamming my hand in the door, and the long slog through torturous school repetition. My eyes hadn't yet gone crisscross from memorizing names of rivers and the periodic table and dates of wars from the 17th century. I was there for my own amusement. I volunteered to attend this tomboy sports camp, unlike the many others later, which I was compelled to join. When I saw the advertisement in the paper insert, I knew the squinty little picture of the boy, his hands lifted in the air as he ran and smiled into the beam of sunshine. I wanted to bolt around like him. I wanted to be him, to know that I could live with such liberation, such carelessness. And on the first day, it was Greek dodge and getting pegged in the back with a sidearm hurl, stung like a nest of wasps. And I was happy that way. I could keep up with 11-year-old boys, no problem. Mr. Preston saw me from above and clapped. You show them, little feats, he said. Nobody can rip you away from you. I didn't know what to make of any of it, really. He had hair down to his shoulders like a girl, and it curlicued in sweaty waves. His eyebrows arched and his chin protruded like the nose of some ancient ship. He wore sunglasses at all times, indoors and out. When I looked at him, I only saw my own reflection. I hurled the ball and just missed the tall, gangly girl, the one with the braces and the limping left foot. Go for the injured. Take their legs out if you have to, I thought. I was a mean-spirited elfin turd. After lunch, it was Mr. Preston again, this time on his court, number 8 in the corner, where we did suicide sprints for 10 minutes, then reflex drills with brown tennis balls. Good for our spirits, he said. This was the all or nothing class, he said. We would do a variety pack, and with only 12 of us, he could march us this way and that until our parents strove to snatch us away from the jaws of defeat. On the third day, Mr. Preston started humming. I had the very same exact name as the girl in the song, he said. He called it low-hanging fruit. Later, I realized I didn't like thinking of myself as something to be consumed. It was an oldie that his parents had on a vinyl record in the basement. He had to intone it, he said. Virtually no choice in the matter. Same name. Na 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 na. I can still sing the song by heart, each awful mocking note. Confidence shook, knees rattled, rolling on the floor laughing. He followed me around court 8, belching it out for all to hear. I could feel their eyes trace up and down. It was torture. It was jubilation, for them at least. All the while, Mr. Preston chortled, pointing at me as if I was accused of some awful crime, as if I deserved it. I took it for 3 days, nodding along or plugging my ears, but on the 4th, even my 8-year-old self couldn't take it for one more minute. We were working on badminton, boys against girls, the little birdie flying up into the wall of the court and then cascading down as if injured. I thwatted it hard, but into the net. Na 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 na. It bored into my head, grated. Even with my fingers in my ears, it leaked through. Mr. Preston, I said, why are you doing this to me? This is what snagged him. He had no answer. The other campers looked at him. We all waited for a reply. After some time, he said, proceed with the game. I told nobody. But that Friday morning, I cried in the car. My father drove me on the way to work. I don't know if I'm just thinking of a sad story, I said. It was too ridiculous to admit. Are you sure? He patted my knee. It will be okay. I nodded and said nothing, but it stuck with me. I did not forget. My mother apologized for the hand incident. She slammed the door in anger and had no idea I was right there, she said. I half believed her. She acted out in frustration too often, she later confessed. She was not frustrated with us. It was her husband. My father and mother divorced when I was 20 and living away from home. My younger brother suffered the worst of that. I grew up and graduated from an all-girls college where I felt suffocated and thinned by the lack of sexual conflict. I never did meet a guy, and I felt then and later that I had trouble relating. At 27, I began researching Mr. Preston. I discovered that he became the principal of a high school, as well as the assistant football coach. He bought his house for nearly $1 million. He was married to a woman older than him who was a partner in a famous law firm. Most notably, she represented the guy who was accused of slaying his parents over an argument in a Denny's restaurant. He drove a black 2019 BMW convertible and owned 2 dogs, both striking Dalmatians. All of this I handed over to my father. For years, I had forgotten, mostly until my best friend Sheila reminded me in an email, whatever happened to that hippie camp counselor, the one who had a crush on you? He did not have a crush on me, I said, and I believed that. It was purely a case of pushing me around for no reason. I'm not sure why I told my father. It made no sense to me because I knew that he would lash out. On some level, I wanted Mr. Preston to suffer, my father also. What are you going to do? I asked him, and he told me frankly. You can't do that, I said. Not only because there will be consequences, but because it is over the top. Nobody deserved that, especially not for singing a Simon and Garfunkel song, even one about making love to an 8-year-old. But I knew where Mr. Preston lived, and I gave him the address despite myself, knowing what might happen, knowing that if he still had long floppy hair and the voice of a turtle dove, he might find himself under the house by the end of the night. It was a balmy July night, the kind when it seemed the sun would never descend. Its glow lingered in the sky hours until 10, 11, 12. I had to follow my father. I had no choice. The road was straight for the most part, with a ton of lights, so I had to hover back and hope I could stay on green. Luckily, my father drove slow, maybe in an attempt to mask his anger. As we got within 5 miles of Mr. Preston's house, I called the blue line, 911, easy enough. No way I would let him go through with it. You ask me, small price to pay, the sacrifice. I'm positive my father knew, even though he never saw me. Ended up being 6 months. Luckily, it wasn't more. And when he got out, he was an improved man. Even he said so. He walked firmly. He stood with both feet on the ground. He rarely slouched. Changed man, my father said. He sold his guns and his knives and began going to group therapy. He met my mother at the mall, and they sat on a bench, and he got down on his knees for 3 seconds and clasped her to him. He still thumped his jeans with his fingers, and that concerned me, but only when watching the game. All that tension, he said. His hair had gone gray, and he napped often. Something inside me clicked. There was one old pocket knife left I found in the garage behind some rusted out paint cans, green and yellow, and the steel shone in the fluorescence. I slipped it in my pocket and into my desk drawer. I was almost 30, I realized, and still living with my father like some kind of refugee from another era. I turned the knife in and out of my fingers all night, sleeping an hour and then walking to pace around my room and into the kitchen. I liked the weight of it on my palms, its coolness. Later that week, I drove the same path my father took, but I took it fast, so I couldn't change my mind. He would hear my side of things, I knew, my truth, as it were. I drove really fast and ran a few lights, I won't lie. His car was right there in the driveway, too, dull and gray like Mr. Preston's stupid face. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Did I hesitate? I had the chance to back down, but I didn't. Washing my face, huh? What are you begging for now? Is your confidence shaken? Jubilation, I thought. Jubilation.